Hiya folks, JD here, and today the Fimi A3. So we're going to be looking at some manual settings for photos. I've done a few more videos on this type of thing for a couple of different quads. If you want to check them out and you haven't yet, they're in the description if you want to see more. So today what we're going to be looking at is pretty much just manual settings. For a lot of the time when I take out quadcopters, they're always set on auto, quite simply because I want people to know exactly what they get out of the box without there being any sort of tinkering with the footage. I want you to see that if I get this particular video and if video quality and photo quality, then the chances are you will as well. So today what we're going to be looking at is I'm going to be changing some of the settings on the transmitter of the Fimi A3. So if we just go into the transmitter, down to camera settings, not interested in the video stuff. Picture quality for the second, we've got fine and super fine at 60 megapixels, so megabits per second, sorry. So what I'm going to do is stop the video recording and then see if I can actually then go in and change my settings, which I can. Beautiful. So because we have a lovely sunrise, it's 10 to 7 this morning, nope, 7 o'clock, and the sun is coming up, as you can see. This is going to make an auto adjustment or manual adjustment of photos quite difficult because the sun isn't at a predetermined angle. So therefore what we're going to see is we're going to probably have to alter this ISO setting a few times. So if I'm using a normal DSLR or any one of my other hand cameras, then I would usually, dependent on what I'm on what the weather dictates, I will change my settings accordingly, maybe, you know, ISO 200, 400, whatever. Don't forget, the higher increase that you have of your ISO levels, the more noisy your pictures are going to become. Therefore you lose quality, you lose depth. So if you do then want to crop an image out of that particular photo, then you're not going to be able to, because it's just going to be a blobby mess. So what I normally do is I try and get my ISO levels down as low as possible. Usually on a day like today, if I leave it till about 10, 11 o'clock, where there's sort of minimal cloud cover, but as you can see, very, very nice blue brightness from the sky, then I'll try and limit that ISO level down to about 200 or 400. I'll tend not to go above that in any sort of photography. That's just my rule of thumb. It doesn't necessarily mean it's correct. It just means that for where I live in the UK, in a summer or autumn or winter, those levels are what I generally set my camera to, because that's what I find works the best. So I'm going to set this to ISO of 200. My shutter speed, let's have a little look of, I'm going to lower that as down to about half a second. Saturation contrast, I'm going to leave that pretty much as it is. I'm going to try not to alter that. Now the problem with this is I can't see exactly how well this is going to look because of this screen. The screen is so bad on here, it looks like a total whiteout. Regardless, even when you're on auto. And then when I pick the camera up, what I would normally do is I'd pick the camera up, have a look around, and what I would generally look at is the definition I have at the sky. That's your brightest point, and I would see then, obviously I have a bit of definition, and I can use that then to judge whether the levels that I've set are correct. On this screen it makes it very, very difficult. I don't know how well you can see that, but quite literally all I can see here is white, a strip of blue there and a strip of blue there, and then green for the bottom. Now as you lower your gimbal, the photo, your image is going to get a little bit brighter anyway. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this beast right up. So what are we at now? Height of 12 meters. Let's keep on going. I like a standard of pretty much 20 meters, because that way then I just like 20 meters for some reason. I think it's a lovely height. You get nice transmission range. You tend not to have any sort of issues in relay and FPV. Now, as you can see from the top there, I wouldn't say that that is a very well calibrated camera. But then again, I don't know. I can't see any definition on this screen. So therefore, it might be calibrated fine. It just might not be working properly. So what I'm going to do is take a couple of photos. Just one quick press. This is at half a second as well, so that you haven't got to have those long exposures where you have to maintain the camera or the quad extremely still, where your lens is going to remain open, bashing light into itself to try and get the best quality photo. This is just half a second. Now as standard it was set, I think, to auto. I wouldn't see any reason as to why that would be anything more than about a second. So if I change it to a second and then go back, and then click once and take a photo, and then photo success, it just takes a nice little image of what we're looking at. Now, once again, one way I may be able to tell actually is I might be able to see, oh, there's a blue in this, just taken off in the distance. Fantastic. that raises a concern actually. That raises quite a large concern. Okay, fine. I've only ever known them to land once here. Not when I've been flying, fortunately, but when I was walking the dog. Right, going back to what we're doing here, I'll keep my eye on that anyway, and if it does look like it's coming to land, then I'll down tools. So what I was saying is, because we can't tell against the sky as to, you know, how bright everything is and whether my levels are set correctly, I'm going to use the trees. So I've got a silver birch there, as you can see, that's the silver tree, and then you've got a lot of oaks, you've got some chestnuts, you've got some rowan trees there as well, just giving you some nice separation. That in itself should be okay. So I'm going to lower the gimbal a little bit. I just want a little bit of floor. There we are, a little bit of floor, got a tiny bit of sky, take a photo, bam, there we go. Now, what I'm going to try as well, because I can't tell because of this screen, I'm going to adjust my brightness down to 0.3. Again, I can't tell any difference. And I'm going to take a photo there, and I'm going to take a photo there as well, and I can compare the two, and we can see exactly what we're doing. And what I'm going to do as well for one last test, I'm going to raise my ISO to 400, and once again I can't tell a difference. It doesn't look any different on here. Now if I raise the levels a bit, I get a much darker screen, exactly as I should do. If I lower it, then I get quite a nice little screen. Once again, I think 400 is going to be a little bit too much for this particular weather type, but I'm willing to entertain it, so we'll give it a shout. Now if I turn the quad, and then if I alter my gimbal up, then this is where the sun is rising, then you can see we get some nice cloud, we get some nice formations, but once again, try avoiding shooting directly into things like high sources of light, sun and things like this, unless you've got a particular ND filter on, which is going to then reduce your amount of brightness, because otherwise it just isn't going to work well. So that is at an ISO of 400. I'm going to put that back to 2, in fact. And once again, I can't see any difference on the screen. Do you know what? This does not make for a good quadcopter from a camera perspective if you want to manually set your levels. If you want to go on auto, then yeah, I got no reason to believe that it's going to be anything other than fantastic, because it's auto, it decides. But at the same time, you know, let me see if I can get that balloon so you can see where it is. Now, is that a blemish on my screen, or is that the balloon? No, that's the balloon. I don't know how well you can see that, but that in itself, actually you're not going to be able to see it very well at all, because I'm not actually recording any video. There we go. So there we go, that little black dot you've got in the screen, that is the balloon. So I'm well away from it, just to let anybody know. And no, I'm not going any further towards it. It is exactly what it is, but at the same time, it just looks lovely. Just looks really nice, just sitting there. So there we go. That's just a little look at some manual levels of camera. If you want to change them yourself, I don't recommend you change them on the Fimi A3. In fact, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these camera settings back to ISO levels back to auto. I'm going to put my shutter speed back to auto. I'm going to put my EV levels, I'll keep that exactly as it is, leave it on super fine, I don't mind that. So there we go. So I'm going to put all that back to auto, because quite literally I can't see, there's no difference in this display. So therefore I can't see whether if I change the ISO what difference I get. Like when we were looking at the Xeno yesterday, because I had my phone attached to it, I could definitely see that there was a difference in the particular types of ISO settings that I was using. Whereas with the Fimi, because they've got this absolutely useless display, I couldn't see, or I can't see rather, a blind difference at all. So right then, my friends, let's bring her down. I hope that's helped some of you anyway. As I say, it's not a definitive guide, it's just to give you some sort of an idea of where to go with it. Should you want to be manually adjusting your settings and you don't know exactly where to turn, it is quite a daunting experience. What I would say for you is exactly the same as what I do. Just test. Go out your back garden on a day like today, which is nice and open, and you've got a nice weather pattern or bad weather pattern. Take a couple of snaps at a couple of different levels. Make sure you make a note of what those levels are. Anyway, the metadata in the photo will tell you if you want to just examine that. and then whack it on your computer, have a little look at it, and then see to yourself, right, okay, in this weather pattern I get this. And you should find that before too long you actually pick up on it pretty quickly. And to be honest, that is probably the best way to do it, I find. Just go out there and give it a little shot and see exactly how far you go from there. There's no real definitive way, I don't think. I mean, I've been into photography for a very long time, and for a lot of it, it is trial and error. I think you can help yourself out by reading, but obviously online and going through tutorial videos and everything else. But the thing is, what you've got to remember about that is yeah, thanks, there we go. Not everybody's weather pattern is the same around the country. Not everybody's brightness levels are going to be the same, because quite literally, I'm in Bristol in the UK, and if I go home to Swansea in Wales, then my brightness settings are going to be totally different again. You know, so it really doesn't, there isn't really one setting for all. I would say just test. Just go out there and test, examine the metadata of your images, see exactly what the metadata is telling you. If you've got an ISO of 200 and it's too dark, shift it to 400. You know, avoid going, I would say, again, this isn't a rule of thumb, but I would say avoid going above like 600 or 800 ISO, because then you got, again, your images are they're going to transform. You're going to notice as you zoom in past 100%, you're going to see that everything sort of distorts, everything's more noisy, especially if you take a photo of these trees here, for argument's sake, because the trees themselves, they look like they are of an oval shape, for argument's sake, or they are rounded. In fact, if you zoom in and if you look at that, they very much are not. So your noise levels are going to be extreme if you're looking at any foliage, any grass. So what I would say is, I would most definitely test your levels, go out there a few times, test a bit more until you know exactly what you're expecting, either from your camera or from your quad. Now, I am going to be going into camera and into my photography pastime a little bit more. I'm going to be bringing more of that to the channel, so hopefully I can address any questions that you have with that along the way. All right then, my friends, well, I'm going to stop yabbering on, because quite literally I look like an absolute madman. I'm standing here in the middle of a field talking to myself about what's coming in the future. I got to be careful in case anybody walks in and starts running me off. Right then. Right then, my friends, I'll see you very soon. Thank you ever so much for watching and listening. I've been JD. You've been fantastic as always. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and ring that bell too. Hello and welcome to all the new subscribers. I hope you're enjoying the channel. So until next time, my friends, happy flying.